Okay, as promised, this segment is dedicated to those of you who are in sales management positions, director of sales, VP of sales, you name it, or some of you who are climbing the ladder right now and are looking to get into a sales management or team lead position. This is for you. Not everyone has what it takes to get to the top, but for those of you willing to do whatever it takes, this is for you. I visited over, I've mentioned before, 150, 160 organizations in the past 11 years, and you pick up on a lot of patterns over time. Not only do I come from a sales management and sales director background of 15, 16 years, but after visiting so many organizations, you start to see a lot of the common denominators that are affecting these companies, and they may not even realize it. And at the same time, they're not necessarily unprofessional behaviors. Let me just note, the types of companies I go to have great sales management teams, you have great leaders. You don't bring in a sales coach if you're not already kind of in that forward mindset, right? That positive mindset that what else can we do? How can we grow? But at the same time, we tend to get into daily routines that we may not realize are slowly building over time and taking us away from our core responsibility. And your core responsibility as a sales manager or a sales leader is to produce and to grow production. One of the biggest things I see happening, and in fact, one of the things I'm currently implementing to try to get around this, is I'm changing the title of sales manager now to sales mentor. I find that when people see themselves as a mentor, they spend more time doing the appropriate things that grow production. Too many times I walk into companies where sales managers are working 8 to 12 hours a day. Great guys, great girls, really hustling, totally care about their teams, really passionate about helping people grow. They've got a personal connection with their team and so on. But I find them spending a lot of time creating pretty much the same level of production every month. And if you're going to be in a leadership position like this for 2 months, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is, let's be honest. Your responsibility is to grow production, and by doing that, what you're really doing is growing people. So let's get started with our top 3 mistakes that you may have to cover sometimes. You might have to be a team player and do some of this work, but you really want to make sure that it's not taking up a good majority of your time. Let's get going. Here's item number 1. All right, so you come in the morning, you've got tons of work to do, you've got tons of things on your mind. You know that the sales agents are going to be filing in anytime, the phones are going to be lighting up, or the sales floor is going to be busy, or the emails are going to begin. And you start your day off with a lot of administrative tasks, getting back to emails, doing paperwork, maybe some scheduling, trying to help service things that are happening in other departments, or constantly chiming into meetings that don't necessarily serve your immediate purpose as a sales mentor. So they're spending a lot of time doing administrative tasks. Sometimes when I see a really, really talented sales leader, I'll walk up and say, hey, dude, you're so good at what you do, but I feel like a good majority of your time has now being designated toward being pretty much like a glorified assistant, an executive assistant, or a sales admin assistant. Be careful. Make sure administrative responsibilities are not taking up the majority of your time, and especially in the early hours of your day when it's your responsibility to help boost production and get people in the right mindset and kind of kick the day off to a good start. All right, so that's item number 1. Item number 2 is that you step in too quickly to close people's business. You step in too quickly to second voice their phone calls or their customers, or to be in the field with them. You need to kick back a little bit. Don't lose business. Create an environment where your sales agents go for the close all the time on their own because you trust them, you believe in them, you have to instill that in them. Rather than getting them dependent on giving you the business right away just because it's a really good deal or a really great sale or a really great customer that has high level of revenue. And so they're already like, do you want to close this one for me? That's a no-no. Don't do that. What you're doing is you're creating a bottleneck in your company, and you're minimizing people's confidence in their own closing ability. As a sales manager, or now, if you want to adopt the title, a sales mentor or a team mentor, part of your responsibility is to trust your people, to take your training and do what you taught them. And if they don't do it perfectly, you can always step in as a supervisor or a manager or a customer relations advisor or something like that. You can always do that, but don't step in to close that too quickly for them. And certainly don't get them coming to you every time they have something that's important to their paycheck. Don't let them ensure their paycheck with your closing skills. You're going to be shortening their learning curve, and it's going to take months and months and months for them to develop. Along the way, if you're closing too many of your sales agents' deals, not only are you creating a bottleneck because you're only one person and you might not be able to get to everybody in time, at least that little window, that decision-making window where your customer is still in a willing to move forward state, you might miss that. Number two, you're going to create an environment where your people are so dependent on you that they think that your confidence in them to close is not that great. They start to believe themselves to be not such a great closer at all. And that's going to start cutting into your bottom line sooner or later. That's just one of the many mistakes I see happening in really, really talented sales environments who are going month to month to month to month, closing pretty much the same or relatively the same level of production. If we're going to do what we're doing every single day, we've got to see growth. If you're not seeing growth in your organization from month to month or at least quarterly, then it means that you're probably spending time in areas working on tasks that don't have to do with perfecting the skills and the confidence of your agents. That's area number two. All right, jumping into area number three that might be impacting your sales production and your team's performance and your paycheck and everybody's paycheck and possibly even at some point threatening your job. I don't know. That's for you guys to decide. But I find that because the sales environment can be such an high energy, kind of urgent, spur of the moment, I've got something really, really important for you to handle type of environment, we tend to get into a reactive mode. And as sales managers, because you're a team player, you're trying to do the right thing, but you might be finding that you're spending a lot of time putting out fires or chasing down deals that were canceled or customers that are backing out or dealing with paperwork, submission, or underwriting, or whatever it is that your company does on the back end that they're constantly getting you involved in that takes time away because you've got to do research and you got to do some customer service and whatnot. Try to delegate that the best that you can or train others in those departments to handle those as you would handle them. If you're a really effective communicator, you're really good with customers, you're really good at putting out fires, remember what you're also good at. You're supposed to be really good at training other people to do this stuff and to have that voice and to speak with compassion and handle those responsibilities with confidence so that you can focus on what your primary initiative is. Your primary responsibility is what? Production. That is your major responsibility. Productivity. Sell. Develop your people and get those numbers up. You don't want to increase the volume of your company just by adding more sales agents. When you do that, your marketing costs go up, and now you've got a little bit of production spread over a lot of people with the high marketing budget. Give it long enough, if you keep growing in that type of environment, you're going to end up cutting compensation plans. Your compensation plan is going to change just so you can afford to market for that many sales agents, because your sales agents conversion ratio is not as high as it should be, especially if they're watching my videos. And you're creating an environment that's going to become top heavy and uncomfortable, and you're going to force your upper management to make sudden changes in the organization. They're going to affect all of your hard work and your culture. Let's not even get there. The key is to develop people, all right? So if you're spending a lot of time putting out fires or trying to keep customers from canceling and whatnot, that's a sign. That's a sign that you need to shift your energy, you need to shift your time allocation and your effort into developing these people proactively so that those situations are few and far in between. That's what's good for your culture. That's what you need to do. So let me share with you a couple of things that I ask a lot of my clients, sales managers, sales directors, and team mentors to do on a daily basis. Some of them get to it every single day because they've perfected their time management skills, and it didn't happen overnight, but they eventually got there, some quickly, some not so quickly. And some do these types of things every other day. It just depends on what type of a sales environment you're in and how physically close your sales agents are. Are they outside agents? Are they inside agents? Are they across the world? What resources you have and whatnot. But here's what I'd like you to focus on. Let's get into item number one. Okay, so several years ago when I was just starting my coaching career, I started to do a lot of research on things that I probably would not have learned by just working in the company I worked at. In fact, I've been in and out of probably 12 to 15 really cool companies since I started working in high school and after college, up until when I started my coaching career. And I noticed there's just a lot of information out there that I may not even realize exists. And one of them was really fascinating to me because my last job before starting my coaching career, I was a team director, a sales director for a really large company, and I had dozens and dozens of people on my team. And I started to notice that, I would have an agent who's really, really talented, and his numbers would be up and down. And I would just pat him on the shoulder and say, hey, you're doing great, just keep going, you'll be fine. Or I've had agents that seemed really talented in their interview and were super gung-ho in the first few weeks I would hire them, but then as time went on, they kind of lost their fire, they're becoming complacent again, or they're losing their confidence and whatnot. And I'm like, man, why is this happening? It's not like we don't know how to choose reasonable people. When you interview someone, or when you get to know them that first week or two, you can probably tell whether or not they have the right intentions for your company or for their own performance and their pay, and they usually do. We'll get into recruiting at some point in time, but today I just want to bring up this topic. So it's not that your people don't have the talent or the capabilities necessarily. Some are definitely by DNA and by nature and by experience a little bit ahead of the others. But what it really was is it came down to a few things that I needed to track that I wasn't necessarily tracking on a daily basis. Or if I was tracking them, it was simply for the sake of, team spirit, or tracking our closing numbers for my management, finding out what our revenue was or how many closed deals we had, just so we could do a pump up session or a rally of some type in the company. But here's what I'd like you to do. Number one, look at the previous day. Take a quick look at the previous week. Take a quick look at the previous month. Every morning when you get in, at some point between 8 a.m. or 10 a.m. or whatever those first 2 hours of your day are, don't worry, you're going to get to the other stuff. There's going to be plenty of work for you to do all day long. It's never going to stop, by the way. If you're a team lead or a team mentor, sales director, it just never stops. And although we tend to, vent about it and joke about it, we actually enjoy it. That's why we're in the role that we're in. So if you're going to enjoy it, at least be productive with it. So for the first 2 hours, take a look at those numbers. Take a look at each component of your sales agent's workflow. So if in your industry, they receive a lead, and then they take an application, and then they run credit, and then they, get back on the phone, or take a look at each one of those mile markers and see where people's numbers are going up and down. Once you know where everybody's numbers are at every day, and by the way, if you do this every day or every other day, you really don't have to spend very much time on it at all, because you kind of have in your memory what all of your sales agents' daily dashboard looks like. At that point in time, you want to make some decisions. With those numbers, you kind of want to decide, okay, which one or two agents do I want to focus on today? Is it somebody who's always been a top producer and is having a few setbacks and I can help prevent that from, a full crash? Is it somebody who's rising up and I have a lot of confidence in and I want to develop? Is it somebody who I know, is really, really talented and was always a producer, and recently or lately they haven't been producing as much as they used to, and I know what's going on with their family and I know what kind of responsibilities they have, so I want to contribute and I want to pull that person in. But choose one person or two people a day if your work environment allows for it, and pull them in, show them their numbers. Do a little one-on-one action with them. Let them know that you've noticed that there's a small shift in their numbers, and you want to make sure you catch it, because it's your responsibility to help them grow and you do not want to fail them. It's a really, really effective way of communicating with your sales agents. It allows you to discuss things in private before their production gets so low that now you have to make ultimatum type decisions, and possibly even diminish the confidence level of somebody who would have been an amazing producer and possible future leader on your team, or even worse, lose somebody. You reach that tipping point where you lose somebody and you're like, man, they could have been good, they could have made it, and now you got to go through the expensive and timely process of bringing somebody else in and taking it through all that training again. So pull them in for a one-on-one. Two things that I recommend that you do in this one-on-one. This will kind of conclude our discussion for today. If your sales agents are on phone calls, take your numbers and take that day that you're looking at or that week and pull phone calls. If they do one-on-one or face-to-face type sales, try to track how many people they spoke to, or ask them specifically how a certain sale went or what the communication was like. Have detailed questions. Either review their phone calls or role play with them, or do something that might lead you to find specific areas for improvement in their sales flow that they haven't realized are happening, because they're doing it every single day. So they can make small changes, or possibly even sometimes negative changes in their sales flow, or their communication skills or something they're tracking or not tracking on a daily basis and not even realize it's happening. But when you lift up the covers and you look inside and you see what's really happening, or you listen to the phone call, or you role play that sale or that exact scenario for that exact product, you might notice it like, wow, black and white, why is that happening? I'm so glad I caught it. Usually it's a very, very small change. You can make a lot of massive immediate corrections in a very high potential sales agent right away if you get used to doing this on a daily basis. So along the way, here's something to take into consideration. If you're coming in the morning and you're getting super, super busy with administrative tasks because you like to look busy, slow your roll. Slow your roll. You don't want to spend 6, 8, 9 months, 12 months, 2 years hustling and hustling and hustling to create pretty much the same type of production every single day. All right? Take a look at your numbers every morning. Make that your number one priority. Let everybody know. Communicate to your peers, communicate to your bosses, communicate to your sales managers that you understand that you might even be forcing them to handle all these random things that have nothing to do with developing their people, and then at the end of the week asking them where the numbers are at. So be careful. If you're a business owner or you're a VP of sales and you have team leads or sales managers or directors or mentors underneath you, then you might want to make sure you're allocating their time properly and encourage them to develop their people. All right? Measure the numbers, track down exactly what's happening, make sure your sales agents know that you're here to help them and that it's not about closing the deal, it's about your commitment to developing them as a mentor. Find the little details that need to be corrected, give your sales agent a boost of confidence, and try to do these things all before your first 2.5 hours into your day so that you have some amazing momentum going into it. You do these things on a daily basis or at least 3 days out of the week, and I promise you, you'll become so much more intelligent about what's really, really happening in your sales environment. You'll see growth with the right people. You'll make better HR decisions. You'll help grow some confidence on your team. You'll take people who never had that type of treatment before in other sales organizations that just don't know how to lead people. You know, they'll have more confidence in you, better relationships with your sales agents. The numbers will grow, I promise you. I've been doing this now for 10 to 11 years. It didn't all come to me right away, but over time I found these patterns and I can help you make them work. I'm doing this for you today so that you can implement it right away. As you know, these videos are not for entertainment purposes. I'm here pretty much in my home in Newport Beach, California, giving it to you raw. I promise you guys the real stuff, real tactics that I take to my clients, my private clients, and I have been for over a decade now, every single day. You can customize it to your business, do what you feel is appropriate, but if you're not doing these things in general, start implementing that today. Make a decision, send the email, have the meeting, communicate with your peers what you feel needs to happen, what you learned, and even share this video with them right now. Just go ahead and patch them in, tag them on it, forward it to them, point them to it, post it to them, or whatever you need to do so that they understand where you're coming from. I'm here to help you grow your business. Okay, guys? Once again, this is Semaan. I'm out of here for now. I got to get to one of my clients in just a little bit. This is episode 3. Stay tuned for episode 4. I'll have it out in just a couple days. And there'll be some more good stuff for you guys to keep your business and your paychecks growing. Let's go. If you're not a top producer yet, stay tuned for more. I'll help you get there as quickly as possible. I promise you, I won't fail you. See you guys soon. I hope you have a great week. Bye-bye now.